Good morning. As you can tell, I am outside this morning doing my videos. I have a couple of nieces at my house who need a reprieve from their large household, and so in order for it not to be as noisy, I think we're going to be outside. Of course, we may have cars or airplanes go by, so we'll see how this works. But I also want to show you this. I'm going to flip this around. I think I'm going to flip it around. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just turn it around. Okay. Yeah, I can just turn it so you guys can see where I'm sitting right now. And I don't know if you could see out there, I have a bird feeder. And we're super excited because, oh, that's a chickadee trying to get in. We've had 3 buntings, indigo buntings, show up and hang out with us, and that's the first time we've ever had them hang out. We had one come last summer, but then it never came back, and now we have 3 hanging out, so love it. And I don't know if you can see my hummingbird feeder right there. We had a hummingbird yesterday. I just put it out. And then over there are flowers that I just admire. So just wanted you to see where I was spending the morning videoing for you. I've already been out here probably 30 minutes doing my Bible and listening to the birds and watching them. I need to fill my feeders. Okay, so let's begin. I know you thought this was nature study, but it's Bible. And if you haven't already, I want you to pause the video and tell somebody what you remember from reading about David last week in 2 Samuel chapter 8. And then we will move on to 2 Samuel chapter 9. So last week was about victories, and we did a little bit of a comparison between the week before and this week, with the week before, chapter 6, being all about God and what he had done, and then week 7, what God had done for David and allowed David to be so victorious. So go tell somebody that, and then come back, and we're going to read chapter 9. It's very short. Okay, so I'll wait for you to come back. Okay, if you're just now coming back, one of the things I want you to do is make sure you have your map. That's the one that I had printed, and if I had known, I'd have given you each a copy. If I'd known we weren't going to be seeing one another so abruptly again. But on your map, I do want you to look for the Sea of Galilee. Look for the Dead Sea. Okay, we've looked for the Jordan River, and we've looked for the Mediterranean and found those. Now I want you to find the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee, and then find Jerusalem, and I want you to tell whether those different seas are north, south, east, west, southeast, southwest, northwest, northeast of Jerusalem. It's always good to get our bearings of these major areas, major rivers, major seas, the Mediterranean Sea, major towns, so that as you're reading the Bible, it's not just fictional places out in the Bible somewhere, but they're actual real places, and you can kind of get your mind wrapped around it. So pause the video again, go look for those, and then come back. I know I keep saying we'll come read, but I do want to read this very briefly again from my Wiersbe devotional. It's not really a commentary, it's more of a devotional. It does give you some commentary in it, but very little. So here we go. So the theme in this chapter is kindness. And Wiersbe mentions that kindness is a fruit of the Spirit, which it's the second fruit of the Spirit. And if anybody knows the first one, that would be fun to send me and let me know. And so David is practicing a fruit of the Spirit. And we know that he has the Spirit of God with him, because the Bible tells us that the Spirit of God was with David. It had left Saul and had gone to David. So in this, we're going to learn about the son of Jonathan, who was David's probably best friend, and how David was treating him like his own son, and that Mephibosheth didn't need to fear, and his name is Mephibosheth. Aren't you glad your parents named you Grace and Jet and Lane and Lily and all those other names instead of Mephibosheth, although that might be kind of a fun intro. Okay, so let's get started with chapter 9. And David said, "Is there anyone left of the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and they called him to David. And the king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" And he said, "I am your servant." And the king said, "Is there not still someone of the house of Saul that I may show the kindness of God to him?" Ziba said to the king, "There is still a Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet." And the king said to him, "Where is he?" And Ziba said to the king, "He is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, at Lo-debar." Then King David sent and brought him from the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, at Lo-debar. And Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and paid homage. And David said, "Mephibosheth." And he answered, "Behold, I am your servant." And David said, "Do not fear, for I will show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. And I will restore you to all the land of Saul your father, and you shall eat at my table always." And he paid homage and said, "What is your servant that you should show regard for a dead dog such as I?" Then the king called Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, "All that belonged to Saul and to all his house I have given to your master's grandson. And you and your sons and your servants shall till the land for him, and shall bring in the produce, that your master's grandson may have bread to eat. And Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, shall always eat at my table." Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, "According to all that my lord the king commands his servant, so will your servant do." So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah. And all who lived in Ziba's house became Mephibosheth's servants. So Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, for he ate always at the king's table. Now he was lame in both his feet. And remember, we read about that earlier at when we read about King Saul's death. We read about the servant or the nurse of Mephibosheth trying to carry him out, and he fell and his legs became lame, or his feet became lame. So pause again, or I guess we're really at the end, so you can stop and tell someone the story of David's kindness to Mephibosheth. And throughout the day, let's remember that God has called us to show kindness if we have the fruit of the Spirit in us. And right now, there are probably lots of opportunities to do that. Because you are with your family. Even though you normally are with your family, you're probably with your family even more. Or you have a neighbor that you can show kindness to. And kindness can be as simple as forgiving someone and treating them with care and respect. It could be sending a note to someone, a letter. Maybe you painted a little something and want to share it with someone. It could be baking something and giving it to your neighbor. Could be helping out in your neighbor's yard, or even helping your parents in a situation where you don't normally help them or normally volunteer, but you can. So those of you who don't have the name Mephibosheth, like Lydia and Hannah and Nathaniel, Abigail, then go show kindness to someone today.